Welcome to GNS Consulting. This is George Miller. For those of you that have seen some of my shows in the past, I always just share a quick segment about what our company's doing. And right now, what we're going to talk about is I'm going to give a real quick lesson on team building. Last time I talked to you, I talked about leadership and communication. I went in a little bit on marketing. I'll add one more thing to marketing real quick. One of the key things to remember in marketing is you have to go past transaction and enter relationships with your customer. If you just keep at the transaction level, it's really tough to have a successful clientele that's going to come and see you on a regular basis. Because a lot of people are dependent on their price points in their company and maybe even the service they offer, but they're not establishing that relationship and the rapport with their customers. And when you don't do that and you don't go the extra mile, somebody else may open up another store or business similar to yours, and they may offer a little better service or they may offer a little better price point, and then the people are going to gravitate to that business. And the reason that that happens is because your relationship with them has always been transactional instead of having that long-term relationship established. And so you want to go past transaction and enter relationships with your customers, and regardless of what other businesses pop up around you, they will stay loyal to you because you're loyal to them. Okay, having said that, this segment, what I want to talk about this week is team building. And this is where we run into a lot of problems, and a lot of companies have me come in and talk to them about building teams. One of the biggest problems that they have is generational gaps and establishing teams when you have people there from different generations, i.e. the baby boomers managing millennials. And the irony in this is when I go to a lot of corporations, they're complaining about the millennials and some of the deficits they have and their time management issues. Like I went to one company and they said, with the millennials, here's the thing that we run into. When previous generations are supposed to be there at 8 o'clock, they're in the break room at 7:30 drinking coffee, waiting to clock in. With these youngsters at 8 o'clock, if they're pulling into the parking lot, they think they're on time. And they did have some legitimate grievances. Having said that, there's a lot of positive attributes with the millennials. They're the most social generation that's ever existed in history, and they're the quickest to collaborate with each other regardless of racial, ethnic, social backgrounds. So there's some real pluses there. The other thing that we run into when people build teams is they don't understand the components of team building. You have 4 phases to team building. You have the forming stage when you put your team together, and then as soon as you put your team together, you're always going to have a storming phase. And that's where everybody's getting to know each other and figure out what attributes they're bringing to the table, and there's always going to be conflict while they're working that out. But if you're new to management, a lot of times you think, okay, I have a dysfunctional team, and you disband your team. You got to let them work through that process. That's part of the evolutionary process of building a team. And then after that, then they go into the norming phase and then performing. So you got to have the patience to let them work it out through that storming phase, and that's where we see some of the deficits. A couple other things real quick with the millennials. One of the things that I do when I go to most corporations is I'll put a newspaper in the center of the table, and that's all they get, about the size of maybe a Sunday Times. And I'm walking through the tables, and I have a tennis ball, and I tell them, you have 10 minutes to build a bridge with this newspaper. You can't use anything else besides the newspaper to build your bridge. And you have 10 minutes to build it, and it has to be able to bear the weight of the tennis ball, hold it up, plus the tennis ball needs to be able to roll under your bridge. And then I just say, go. And then you see the anxiety set in. and you see the normal leaders at the tables just kind of evolve. But one of the things that I found really fascinating is it's usually the millennials who win that activity, because at a lot of the other tables where you have upper division management, they're talking about, I have a background in engineering, I have a background in this, and they spend a lot of time arguing over who's in charge of building the bridge and what their bridge should look like, and sometimes they never get a bridge built, or they might get one prototype done and I set the tennis ball on there and it falls apart. With the millennials, when you go to their table, they're talking about how are we going to do this? And they collaborate a lot quicker than other generations. So regardless of the deficits, you can capitalize on those strengths and still have an extremely successful organization. Thanks for your time. This is George Miller at GNS Consulting. Until next time, I'll see you later.